Autoimmune diseases. Daily habits to protect your life. When your body attacks itself. Hello, dear listeners. The fact that you're listening to this audiobook right now suggests you've likely heard one of the most bewildering pieces of news in your life. Your immune system is attacking your own body. These words from a doctor's mouth feel like hearing that your most trusted friend has stabbed you in the back. Autoimmune disease. The term itself is contradictory. How can the immune system that's supposed to protect us attack us instead? It's like a security guard becoming a thief. Rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, psoriasis, thyroiditis. These diagnostic terms aren't just medical vocabulary. They become realities that completely change the trajectory of our lives. But wait, there's something we need to address here. Why are we living in an era of rapidly increasing autoimmune disease patients? In the 19th century, these diseases weren't particularly common. But since the 21st century began, autoimmune disease patients have been increasing explosively worldwide. Is this mere coincidence or a side effect created by our modern civilization? Scientists sometimes explain this through the hygiene hypothesis. The theory is that immune systems raised in overly clean environments lose their purpose and start attacking the wrong targets. It's like soldiers in peacetime starting to fight each other. But this alone isn't sufficient explanation. Stress, processed foods, sleep deprivation, environmental toxins, antibiotic overuse. Everything in modern society is confusing our immune systems. We live in the most convenient era in human history, but simultaneously in the era with the most confused immune systems. So what should we do? Should we despair? Or should we resign ourselves to this fate? I want to offer you a different perspective. Autoimmune disease is a signal our body is sending us. A signal that something is wrong. And if we properly understand and respond to this signal, we can live meaningful lives, even while living with disease. This audiobook is not a medical textbook, nor does it promise miraculous cures. Instead, it aims to share practical wisdom on how those of you facing the reality of autoimmune disease can live more wisely and healthily. Chapter 1. The Immune System's Betrayal. Why our bodies attack us. To understand the immune system, we must first know how sophisticated and complex this system is. The human immune system operates through approximately 1 trillion immune cells working together. This is far more complex cooperation than all people in the world simultaneously working toward one goal. Inside your body are various types of immune cells: T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, and more. They perform their respective roles like a highly trained army. T cells act as scouts and commanders. B cells are factories producing antibody missiles, and macrophages are janitors and intelligence gatherers. But why does such a sophisticated system malfunction? Immunologists explain this through the molecular mimicry phenomenon. The theory is that proteins in our body are too similar to those of external invaders, causing the immune system to get confused and attack its own tissues. For example, consider rheumatic fever that occurs after streptococcal infection. The M protein of Streptococcus is similar to heart muscle protein. So the immune system attacks the bacteria, but mistakenly attacks the heart as well. It's like a security guard who can't distinguish between twins. However, adding a slightly cynical perspective here. Modern medicine excels at explaining the causes of autoimmune diseases, but still has limitations in preventing or fundamentally treating them. Most treatments focus on suppressing the immune system. It's like breaking a fire alarm because it's too noisy. Genetic factors are also important in immune system malfunction. HLA, human leukocyte antigen, genes play a crucial role in helping the immune system distinguish between self and other. People with certain HLA types are more vulnerable to specific autoimmune diseases. For instance, people with HLA-B27 have over 100 times higher probability of developing ankylosing spondylitis than the general population. What's interesting is that having genetic predisposition doesn't necessarily mean disease will develop. In identical twin studies, when one twin develops an autoimmune disease, the probability of the other twin developing the same disease is mostly under 50%. This means environmental factors are as important as genetic factors. Among environmental factors, gut microbiome imbalance is particularly noteworthy. About 100 trillion microorganisms live in our gut, playing crucial roles in immune system development and maintenance. When gut microbiome balance is disrupted by antibiotic overuse, processed food consumption, stress, etc., the immune system also becomes confused. Stress also directly affects the immune system. When cortisol, a stress hormone, is continuously secreted, T-cell function deteriorates and inflammatory cytokines increase. Modern people live with their sympathetic nervous system activated daily. This is like running a car engine at high RPM constantly. Eventually, it has to break down. The reason women are more vulnerable to autoimmune diseases is also interesting. About 80% of all autoimmune disease patients are women. This is explained by the influence of X chromosomes and estrogen. Women have 2 X chromosomes, making immune-related gene expression more active, and estrogen promotes antibody production in B cells. From an evolutionary perspective, women showing stronger immune responses was an adaptation for pregnancy and childbirth. But in modern times, this has become poison instead. Chapter 2. The correlation between modern society and autoimmune diseases. In the early 20th century, humanity's major causes of death were infectious diseases. Tuberculosis, pneumonia, diarrheal diseases, etc. claimed people's lives. But since the 21st century began, while mortality from infectious diseases has dramatically decreased, the incidence of autoimmune diseases, allergies, cancer, etc. has explosively increased. This is not mere coincidence. Let's examine the changes brought by modern civilization one by one. First is urbanization. For the first time in human history, more than half of the world's population lives in cities. Cities provide convenience, but simultaneously bring problems like air pollution, noise pollution, and stress from population density. Air pollutants like fine dust enter through the lungs and cause systemic inflammation. PM 2.5 in particular penetrates to the alveoli, stimulating immune cells, which can spread throughout the body and trigger autoimmune reactions. Research results showing that lupus incidence in major cities like Seoul is higher than in rural areas support this. Next is the change in dietary habits. The emergence of processed foods is one of the most radical changes in human dietary history. Our ancestors ate natural foods for hundreds of thousands of years, but in just 100 years, we've made processed foods full of chemical additives our staple diet. Trans fats, high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, colorants. These substances are foreign materials that our immune systems have never encountered during evolution. The immune system shows hypersensitive reactions to these unfamiliar substances, or, conversely, becomes confused and starts attacking its own tissues. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here. The food industry prioritizes profit over our health. They continue using sugar and trans fats, knowing they're harmful to the body because of taste and addictiveness. Then they shift responsibility to consumers by saying, it's fine if consumed in moderation. It's like tobacco companies selling cigarettes while writing, smoking is harmful to health. Antibiotic overuse is also a serious problem. Since Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, antibiotics have been miracle drugs that saved humanity from infectious diseases. But now there are doctors prescribing antibiotics even for colds, and the livestock industry uses antibiotics as growth promoters. Antibiotics are excellent at killing bacteria, but also kill beneficial microorganisms in our bodies. When gut microbiome communities are destroyed, immune system balance is also disrupted. Antibiotic exposure during childhood can cause lifelong immune system abnormalities. Changes in stress are also important. Past stress was mainly acute. Situations like encountering predators, wars breaking out, or natural disasters occurring. But modern stress is chronic. Workplace pressure, economic anxiety, relationship complexity, comparison consciousness from social media. These stresses persist 24 hours a day. Chronic stress continuously increases cortisol secretion, which suppresses the immune system while simultaneously increasing inflammation. It's like pressing a car's brake and accelerator simultaneously. When this state continues, the immune system becomes confused and autoimmune reactions can appear. Changes in sleep patterns cannot be ignored either. Before electricity was invented, humanity maintained natural rhythms of sleeping when the sun set and waking when it rose. But now lights are on 24 hours, and blue light from smartphones and computers disrupts our sleep. Sleep deprivation reduces melatonin secretion, which disrupts the immune system's day-night rhythm. Also, growth hormones and cytokines secreted during sleep decrease, reducing the immune system's recovery ability. Chapter 3. Stress, the poison, named modern man's fate. When discussing stress, we must first understand the general adaptation syndrome theory, presented by Hans Selye in 1936. Selye said our body's response to stress is divided into 3 stages: alarm reaction, resistance stage, and exhaustion stage. In the alarm reaction stage, the sympathetic nervous system is activated, secreting adrenaline and noradrenaline. Heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, and more blood is supplied to muscles. This is the fight or flight response, which was essential for survival in primitive times. In the resistance stage, cortisol, a stress hormone, is continuously secreted. This hormone raises blood sugar, suppresses inflammation, and regulates the immune system. It's helpful short-term but problematic long-term. When reaching the exhaustion stage, our body's adaptive capacity is depleted. Various diseases begin to appear at this stage. Autoimmune diseases also commonly occur at this stage. The problem for modern people is that this stress response is almost always activated. From waking up and rushing to work in the morning, suffering from work pressure at the office, and continuing with family responsibilities and financial worries after work. There's no real rest even on weekends. Through social media, they compare themselves with others' success stories or are engulfed in anxiety about the future. Chronic cortisol secretion has complex effects on the immune system. Initially, it suppresses immune responses, but over time, immune cells develop resistance to cortisol. This is called glucocorticoid resistance. In this state, the ability to regulate inflammation decreases, and autoimmune reactions can appear. Stress also damages barrier function. This phenomenon, called leaky gut syndrome, is when the intestinal barrier becomes highly permeable, allowing substances that should be confined to the intestines to enter the bloodstream. These substances can stimulate the immune system, triggering inflammation and autoimmune reactions. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here, modern society gives us stress while simultaneously selling products to solve that stress. Can't sleep because of stress? Take sleeping pills. Can't digest because of stress? Take digestive aids. Depressed because of stress? Take antidepressants. Instead of solving the root cause of stress, symptom suppression treatments predominate. Psychological stress is directly connected to physical inflammation. This is studied in psychoneuroimmunology. Emotions like depression, anxiety, and anger are converted into chemical signals in the brain that affect the immune system. For example, chronic depression patients have high levels of inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines can promote autoimmune reactions. Conversely, autoimmune disease patients have higher incidence rates of depression and anxiety disorders than the general population. This is a kind of vicious cycle. Social stress is also important. Humans are social animals with strong needs for belonging and recognition. But modern society has intense competition, strengthened individualism, while true community consciousness has weakened. Loneliness and isolation are powerful stress factors in themselves. The key to stress management is cognitive reappraisal. The degree of stress varies depending on how the same situation is interpreted. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "What troubles people is not events themselves, but their views of events." This is 2,000-year-old wisdom, but also a core principle of modern cognitive behavioral therapy. Meditation and mindfulness training are also effective. Numerous studies have proven that meditation reduces cortisol levels, decreases inflammatory cytokines, and restores immune system balance. However, meditation is not a panacea. Without solving fundamental stress factors, meditation alone has limitations. Chapter 4. The War on Our Dinner Table, When Food Becomes Medicine and Poison. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." These words remain valid even 2,400 years later. For autoimmune disease patients especially, food choices are matters directly connected to life. First, we must understand what inflammation is. Inflammation is originally our body's defense mechanism. It's the process of removing external invaders or damaged tissues and promoting healing. But in autoimmune diseases, this inflammatory response occurs excessively or targets the wrong objects. Let's examine inflammatory foods. Refined sugar rapidly raises blood sugar, promoting insulin secretion, which increases inflammatory cytokine production. Sugar also promotes harmful bacteria growth in the gut, worsening the intestinal environment. Trans fats are even more problematic. These are artificial fats that barely exist in nature, modifying our cell membrane structure and promoting inflammation. They're contained in margarine, shortening, and some confectionaries. Processed meats should also be avoided. Bacon, sausages, and ham contain preservatives like sodium nitrite, which convert to carcinogenic nitrosamines in the body and cause inflammation. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here, the food industry manipulates our taste buds. They create addictiveness through combinations of sugar, salt, and fat, then sell low-sugar, sugar-free, and low-fat products at higher prices. The current food system makes healthy food expensive and harmful food cheap and delicious. Now let's look at anti-inflammatory foods. Fish rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, provide EPA and DHA. These fatty acids promote the production of inflammation, suppressing prostaglandins and resolvins. Nuts, especially walnuts, are rich in alpha-linolenic acid. This is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that's partially converted to EPA in the body. Almonds and hazelnuts are rich in vitamin E, providing antioxidant effects. Dark-colored vegetables and fruits are rich in polyphenols. Anthocyanins in blueberries, sulforaphane in broccoli, lycopene in tomatoes, and catechins in green tea are representative. These compounds suppress the NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling pathway. Olive oil is the core of the Mediterranean diet. Extra virgin olive oil especially contains a compound called oleocanthal, which shows anti-inflammatory effects similar to ibuprofen. Spices also have powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Curcumin in turmeric has proven anti-inflammatory effects in numerous studies. Gingerol in ginger, allicin in garlic, and cinnamaldehyde in cinnamon also suppress inflammation. The relationship between gut microbiota and the immune system is also important. About 1,000 species of microorganisms live in our gut, and their balance greatly affects the immune system. Fermented foods rich in probiotics, kimchi, miso, yogurt, kefir, increase beneficial bacteria. Prebiotics are also important. These are components that become food for beneficial bacteria, mainly dietary fiber. They're abundant in garlic, onions, asparagus, bananas, and oats. The relationship between gluten and autoimmune diseases is also controversial. Celiac disease patients must definitely avoid gluten, but whether gluten is problematic for other autoimmune disease patients varies individually. Some patients improve symptoms after gluten removal, but this doesn't apply to all patients. Meal timing is also important. Intermittent fasting promotes autophagy, removing damaged cells and proteins while reducing inflammation. However, autoimmune disease patients shouldn't attempt extreme fasting without consulting a doctor. Food sensitivity testing and elimination diets can also be considered. Immune reactions to specific foods might worsen autoimmune symptoms. However, the accuracy of such tests has limitations, so they should be conducted systematically under expert guidance. Chapter 5: The Science of Sleep. Reclaiming Recovery Time. Sleep is not simple rest. It's an active process where our body and mind recover and regenerate. Sleep is especially essential for the immune system. Understanding how sleep deprivation affects autoimmune diseases helps us realize why good sleep is at the core of treatment. Sleep is broadly divided into REM sleep and non-REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is further subdivided into stages 1, 2, 3, and 4, with stages 3 and 4 called slow-wave sleep. During this slow-wave sleep, growth hormone is secreted most abundantly and immune system recovery occurs. During sleep, a glymphatic system, similar to the lymphatic system, is activated. This system removes waste products from the brain, especially removing amyloid beta proteins related to Alzheimer's disease. Inflammatory substances can also accumulate in the brains of autoimmune disease patients, and sufficient sleep helps remove these toxic substances. Sleep is also important for immune memory formation. The process of T cells and B cells remembering antigens mainly occurs during sleep. Insufficient sleep also reduces vaccine effectiveness. According to research, getting flu vaccines while sleep deprived reduces antibody production by over 50%. Melatonin is well known as a sleep hormone but is simultaneously a powerful antioxidant. Melatonin removes free radicals and has anti-inflammatory effects. It also regulates immune cell activity, suppressing excessive immune responses. However, modern people's sleep patterns are seriously distorted. Electric lighting and blue light from electronic devices suppress melatonin secretion. The habit of looking at smartphones in bed especially greatly reduces sleep quality. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here, modern society prevents us from sleeping while simultaneously selling us sleeping pills. They make us drink caffeinated beverages to maintain alertness, work until late hours, and provide endless stimulation through smartphones. Then they sell insomnia treatments and sleep aids. Shift work and jet lag disrupt sleep-wake rhythms. This is called circadian rhythm disorder, where melatonin and cortisol secretion patterns are disrupted, confusing the immune system. Sleep apnea is also related to autoimmune diseases. Repeated hypoxia during sleep increases inflammation and activates the sympathetic nervous system. Research shows that many rheumatoid arthritis patients have concurrent sleep apnea. Let's look at methods to improve sleep quality. First, sleep hygiene must be maintained. This includes going to bed and waking up at set times, keeping the bedroom cool and dark, and using the bed only for sleep. Sleep environment is also important. Check if mattresses and pillows fit your body type, block noise, and maintain temperature around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Using blackout curtains or sleep masks to completely block light also helps. Pre-bedtime routines are also important. Avoid caffeine intake 2 to 3 hours before bedtime and stop using electronic devices an hour before. Instead, relaxing activities like reading, meditation, or taking a warm bath are beneficial. Natural remedies can also help. Lavender aroma activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation. Chamomile tea acts on benzodiazepine receptors, showing sedative effects. Valerian and passion flower are also known as sleep-promoting herbs. However, depending on sleeping pills is not advisable. Most sleeping pills change natural sleep structure and can cause dependency. Benzodiazepine medications especially are associated with cognitive function decline and increased dementia risk with long-term use. Chapter 6. The dual nature of exercise. Problems with too much and too little. Everyone knows exercise is good for health, but for autoimmune disease patients, exercise is like a double-edged sword. Appropriate exercise reduces inflammation and regulates the immune system, but excessive exercise can actually increase inflammation and suppress the immune system. To understand exercise's effects on the immune system, we must know the concept of hormesis. Hormesis is a phenomenon where moderate stress actually produces beneficial effects on living organisms. Exercise is a type of stress, but when done at appropriate intensity and frequency, it makes our bodies stronger. Moderate intensity aerobic exercise provides several benefits. First, it increases secretion of anti-inflammatory cytokines. Second, hormones called myokines are secreted from muscles, which reduce systemic inflammation. Third, it improves blood circulation, promoting removal of inflammatory substances. Strength training is also important. When muscle mass decreases, basal metabolic rate drops, insulin resistance increases, and chronic inflammation rises. Autoimmune disease patients especially are prone to muscle mass reduction due to corticosteroid use, making strength training more important. However, excessive exercise becomes problematic. High-intensity exercise for long periods increases cortisol secretion, increases oxidative stress, and temporarily suppresses the immune system. Marathon runners becoming vulnerable to infections after races is a representative example. Exercise recommended for autoimmune disease patients is low-intensity continuous exercise. Exercise at 60 to 70% of maximum heart rate intensity for 30 to 60 minutes. Good examples include brisk walking, light jogging, cycling, and swimming. Mind-body exercises like yoga, tai chi, or Korea's national calisthenics are especially beneficial. These exercises combine physical activity with meditative elements, reducing stress and suppressing inflammation. Several studies show yoga improves symptoms in rheumatoid arthritis and lupus patients. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here, the modern fitness industry pursues a stronger, faster, longer. High-intensity interval training, CrossFit, ultra-marathons are trending, but these extreme exercises aren't suitable for everyone. They can actually be harmful to autoimmune disease patients especially. Exercise timing is also important. Autoimmune disease patients often have severe stiffness and fatigue in the morning, so exercising in the afternoon or evening is better. However, too late exercise can disrupt sleep, requiring caution. Aquatic exercise is especially good for autoimmune disease patients. Water buoyancy reduces burden on joints, while water resistance provides strength training effects. Warm water also relaxes muscles and reduces pain. Perceived exertion can be used to control exercise intensity. On a 1 to 10 point scale, 5 to 6 points, meaning somewhat difficult, is appropriate. Think of it as intensity, where you can have a conversation. The importance of recovery must also be emphasized. Without adequate rest after exercise, inflammation can actually increase. Balancing exercise and rest is important. On days when symptoms worsen, it's better to rest without forcing yourself. Stretching and relaxation exercises are also important. Myofascial release, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, etc. Calm the sympathetic nervous system and activate the parasympathetic system, promoting recovery. Chapter 7. Realistic relationship building with the medical system. From the moment you're diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, you must maintain a lifelong relationship with the medical system. This goes beyond simple patient-doctor relationships to complex system interactions. Wisely managing this relationship is key to treatment success. First, we must face reality. Modern medicine cannot cure autoimmune diseases. Most treatments focus on managing symptoms and slowing disease progression. This is medicine's limitation and reality. Let's examine medications used in autoimmune disease treatment. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs reduce inflammation and pain, but risk gastrointestinal bleeding and kidney damage with long-term use. Corticosteroids have powerful anti-inflammatory effects, but have side effects like osteoporosis, diabetes, and increased infection risk. Disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs regulate the immune system to slow disease progression. Methotrexate, hydroxychloroquine, sulfasalazine are representative. However, these medications can cause liver toxicity, hematological side effects, requiring regular monitoring. Biologics are recently developed, targeted therapies that block specific inflammatory pathways. TNF-alpha inhibitors, interleukin inhibitors, B-cell inhibitors exist. They're effective, but very expensive, increase infection risk, and can raise malignancy risk. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here, the pharmaceutical industry is more interested in management than cures. Medications requiring lifelong use are more profitable than curative drugs. Seeing monthly biologic treatment costs reaching hundreds of thousands of one shows this. What's important in doctor relationships is collaborative decision-making. Doctors provide medical expertise while patients express their values and preferences to jointly determine treatment direction. Preparation is needed for effective communication. Record symptoms before visits and organize questions in advance. Honestly discuss medication side effects and treatment concerns. Seeking second opinions is also important, especially when diagnosis is unclear or treatment response is poor. Hearing other specialists' opinions helps. However, doctor shopping, endlessly changing doctors, is not advisable. Integrative medicine approaches are also worth considering, using Western medicine and complementary alternative medicine together. However, relying on unproven treatments or arbitrarily stopping existing treatments is dangerous. All treatments should be discussed with the primary physician. What's important in healthcare team relationships is trust. However, blind trust is forbidden. Doctors are human, can make mistakes, and don't know everything. Healthy skepticism and active participation are needed. Medical cost management is also a realistic issue. Autoimmune diseases are chronic conditions, so lifetime medical cost burden is considerable. Maximize insurance benefits, use generic medications, and manage preventable complications early for economic efficiency. Participating in patient organizations or support groups also helps. Through exchanges with people having the same disease, you can share information and receive emotional support. However, be cautious of unverified information or extreme treatments. Chapter 8: Mental Immunity. Building Psychological Resilience. Autoimmune disease is a disease of the body, but also of the mind. Having a chronic illness means not simply enduring physical pain, but facing complex psychological challenges like identity confusion, future anxiety, and social isolation. The psychological adaptation process can be explained by Kubler-Ross's 5-stage model: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. However, these stages don't progress linearly, and order and duration vary by person. In denial stage, you think, "This must be a mistake. This can't happen to me." In anger stage, emotions like, "Why me? This is unfair," emerge. In bargaining stage, you think, "If I do this, I'll get better. A miracle will happen." In depression stage, you fall into despair and helplessness. Finally, in acceptance stage, you accept reality and find new ways of living. However, adding a slightly cynical perspective here, modern society enforces positive thinking. Advice like, "If you change your mindset, your disease will improve too." "Don't give up" sometimes burdens patients more. Sad and angry emotions are also natural and don't need suppression. Psychological resilience is the ability to recover and adapt from adversity. This is not an innate personality, but a skill that can be developed. Let's examine core elements of resilience. First is cognitive flexibility, the ability to see the same situation from different perspectives. Changing thoughts from "I am a sick person" to "I am a person living with disease." Second is finding meaning. If you can find meaning even in suffering, it becomes bearable. Viktor Frankl said, "It's not suffering itself, but meaningless suffering that's hard to bear." Thoughts like being able to help others through your experience or responsibility to stay healthy for family can become meaning. Third is social support. Humans are social animals, so connections with others are important. Relationships with family, friends, colleagues, medical staff, and people with the same disease become sources of resilience. Fourth is self-efficacy, the belief that you can control situations. While you can't control the disease itself, you can control lifestyle habits, treatment participation, stress management, etc. Meditation and mindfulness are very effective for building psychological resilience. Mindfulness-based stress reduction programs improve quality of life and reduce stress through systematic 8-week meditation training. Cognitive behavioral therapy also helps. Learning to recognize and modify negative thought patterns. Changing thoughts from "I'm a useless person" to "I'm struggling now, but I'm a valuable person." Emotion regulation skills are also important. Learning healthy ways to express and process emotions rather than suppressing them. Emotion journaling, art therapy, exercise help. Acceptance and commitment therapy teaches ways to accept rather than eliminate pain and pursue meaningful lives. Targeting meaningful life rather than pain-free life. Spirituality can also be a source of resilience. This doesn't necessarily relate to religion, but means connection with something greater than yourself. Spiritual experiences are possible through nature, art, love, service. Chapter 9: The Wisdom of Hwalbiop and Eastern Martial Arts Therapy. While modern medicine elucidates autoimmune disease mechanisms at molecular levels and develops targeted therapies, Hwalbiop, with thousands of years of history, has developed methods to awaken the body's natural healing power through completely different approaches. In this chapter, we'll learn precisely about Hwalbiop, which many may find unfamiliar. First, let's correct misunderstandings. Hwalbiop is not part of traditional Korean medicine. While Hwalbiop understands the human body based on Eastern medical philosophy, it has completely independent methodology in diagnosis and treatment as a martial arts therapy technique. As the character Hual, meaning to revive, suggests, Hualbiop is a life-saving treatment that doesn't simply suppress symptoms, but awakens the body's ability to heal itself by restoring natural qi flow. This treatment method, developed from martial arts, understands the human body as one integrated energy system. Here's an important fact. A Hualbiop therapist with over 20 years of experience, who has reached the pinnacle of vital energy martial arts, can provide more effective treatment than any modern medical doctor or traditional Korean medicine practitioner. This is not exaggeration. It's reality created by Hualbiop's unique diagnostic and treatment system. In Hualbiop, autoimmune diseases are interpreted as qi backflow and stagnation. When qi that should flow normally becomes blocked or flows in wrong directions, the body's natural immune balance is disrupted. In modern terms, this means immune system confusion due to energy flow imbalance. Skilled Hualbiop therapists can directly sense patients' qi states with their hands. This is a special ability developable only through long martial arts training. They can feel qi field changes before touching patients and precisely identify where qi is blocked and which direction it should flow. There are common qi patterns found in autoimmune disease patients. Qi stagnation in the spinal central axis, insufficient qi supply to limb extremities, qi exchange disconnection between internal organs, and upper heat, lower cold states, where the upper body is hot and lower body is cold. Hualbiop's core is the therapist's qi sensing ability. This is a unique characteristic not found in other treatments. Skilled Hualbiop therapists can sense patients' qi field changes in real time, precisely identify blocked qi locations and degrees, control qi direction and strength, and amazingly, synchronize with patients' qi to directly transmit healing energy. Vital qi techniques that move stagnant qi are also Hualbiop's original methods. Therapists directly manipulate patients' qi through special manual techniques, breaking through blocked areas and making qi flow in correct directions. Particularly effective for autoimmune diseases are central axis vital qi techniques that restore qi's up-down circulation along the spine and limb penetration methods that forcibly open blocked qi flow in extremities. Qi pressure techniques are advanced methods controlling qi pressure. Autoimmune disease patients usually have imbalanced qi pressure states, and therapists directly adjust qi pressure to restore immune system balance. Hualbiop has completely independent diagnostic systems. Qi field diagnosis, sensing qi fields around patients to grasp overall qi states. Contact diagnosis, directly placing hands on patients' bodies to comprehensively assess temperature, vibration, pressure, flow directions, and qi meridian diagnosis, checking states of qi pathways. Autoimmune disease patients often have major qi meridians blocked or reversed. Healthy people's qi fields are even and stable, but autoimmune disease patients have fluctuating qi fields or breaks in specific areas. Adding a slightly cynical perspective here. The modern medical community often shows skeptical attitudes toward treatments they can't understand. However, treatment effects shown by skilled Hualbiop therapists with over 20 years of experience are incomparable to any other treatment. Hualbiop's most amazing characteristic is immediate effects. Because qi is directly manipulated, pain lasting for years can disappear, or inflammation levels can drastically improve with one treatment. Also, rather than just treating symptoms, fundamental qi flow problems are solved, eliminating disease causes. Since natural qi flow is restored, there are no side effects. Overall health actually improves. Providing completely individualized treatment matching each patient's unique qi patterns is also a major advantage. Hualbiop treatment usually proceeds in 4 stages. First stage breaks through the most severely blocked areas, one by one, usually starting from spinal central axis and expanding to extremities. Second stage normalizes whole body QI circulation. Balancing upper, lower, and left, right is especially important. Third stage strengthens QI in specific areas responsible for immunity. This is Hwalbiop's unique treatment. Final stage awakens patients' ability to control QI themselves. Modern people desperately need Hwalbiop's help because Qi flow is seriously distorted due to stress, electromagnetic waves, irregular lifestyles. Autoimmune disease patients even more so. Points to note while receiving Hwalbiop treatment. Take sufficient rest after treatment. Avoid excessive emotional stimulation. Maintain regular life rhythms, and strictly follow therapist instructions. Hwalbiop's effectiveness entirely depends on the therapist's training level. Becoming a true Hwalbiop therapist requires at least 10 years of martial arts training, developing key sensing abilities, experience treating thousands of patients, and continuous self-cultivation. Hwalbiop therapists achieving such levels through this training create treatment results impossible with modern medicine or other traditional medicines. This is precisely why Hwalbiop differentiates from other treatments. Hwalbiop is currently receiving worldwide attention. Western medical professionals are beginning to acknowledge Hwalbiop's effects, and scientific research is actively progressing. However, Hwalbiop's essence transcends scientific analysis. This is art dealing with human life force itself, where miraculous healing occurs through skilled therapists' hands. For those suffering from autoimmune diseases, Hwalbiop can be a new light of hope. However, finding truly skilled Hwalbiop therapists is important. Choose therapists with over 20 years of experience and verified treatment results. Hwalbiop is not simple treatment. It's advanced martial arts therapy awakening human life force, creating healing miracles impossible with modern medicine through skilled therapists' hands. Please know that Hwalbiop is an option for those facing autoimmune disease reality. If Hwalbiop is combined with Western medical treatment, new possibilities may open in your healing journey. What's important is exploring various treatment options with an open mind. Conclusion: the art of living with disease. The moment you received an autoimmune disease diagnosis, your life probably began flowing in an unexpected direction, like a peaceful river suddenly meeting rapids. But through this journey, we can gain important realizations. First, health is not simply the absence of disease. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. You can live a sufficiently healthy life even with autoimmune disease. What's important is not conquering disease, but learning how to coexist with it. Second, we discover our body's amazing adaptability. Though the immune system was confused, it can find new balance points through proper management. This shows how strong human resilience is. Third, we realize what's truly important. Things taken for granted before illness, waking up in the morning, walking, spending time with family. We realize how precious they are. Such realizations enrich life. Fourth, we experience solidarity with others. We discover humanity in relationships with people having the same disease, family, medical staff, and even strangers offering warm words. But I'm not saying all this is easy. Living with chronic illness is a daily challenge. You must check your body's condition every morning, conserve energy throughout the day, and face future uncertainty. But here lies life's artistry. Finding meaning within limited conditions, creating beauty, sharing love. This is truly human life. The Bible tells us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. These words comfort all those suffering from autoimmune diseases. You are not alone. We walk this path together. I express deep respect for your courage and perseverance. Thank you for joining this difficult journey. I wish you continued healthy and meaningful lives. Finally, if this content helped you, please share it with others who need it. And if you want more health information, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll continue providing quality content for your healthy lives. Thank you.